This Chief Epidemiologist, ladies and gentlemen. This is an extraordinary briefing. We normally do our briefings on Mondays and Fridays, and after council on Wednesdays. But we have called this briefing today because of a new development we have announced. As you know, we've had 2 cases of coronavirus infection in Nigeria, one imported and another one a contact of the index case who was identified here in Nigeria, and both are doing well, and all the contacts that were traced with the index case have been certified to go home after the 14 days of observation. And the index case is on the verge of also being requested to go home after the completion of his treatment. But we have a new case which the stringent surveillance efforts of the Federal Ministry of Health have identified of this new case of a coronavirus disease within our borders, which now brings the total number of confirmed cases Nigeria has ever seen to 3. The latest case is a Nigerian national in her 30s who returned from a brief visit to the United Kingdom on the 13th of March. Fortunately, she heeded all the advisory we have given and decided upon returning home to go into a 14-day self-isolation. But subsequently, she developed symptoms of fever and cough and reported on the 16th of March, at which point she voluntarily called the Nigeria Center for Disease Control hotline to report her condition. Officials from Lagos State Emergency Operations Center were immediately dispatched to her home to collect samples, which upon testing came out positive for coronavirus. The lady is currently at the Infectious Disease Hospital in Yaba, where she has remained clinically stable and is responding to treatment. Intensive contact tracing has begun to help identify all persons who the patient has been in contact with since her return. We expect the number to be small because of her sensible decision to go into self-isolation from the time of her arrival. We commend her for following the recommended guidelines to the letter. The Federal Ministry of Health will continue to assess the situation and adjust accordingly. The inaugural meeting of the Presidential Task Force on Coronavirus will hold later today. It is chaired by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. We urge you all to continue to maintain hand hygiene and respiratory etiquette, which has been repeatedly advised. The Federal Government of Nigeria will make further announcements later today. The Federal Ministry of Health continues to carry out the necessary risk assessments on a daily basis. The National Emergency Operations Center and partners will work with Lagos State Health authorities in their response. It is important to note that many people who are infected with coronavirus may experience only mild symptoms and recover without incident. Of great concern are those with existing underlying medical conditions and also our senior citizens who are known to be more vulnerable. We strongly advise that these citizens stay more at home. Nigerians are also requested to continue taking necessary precautions to protect themselves and their families. These measures include the following: washing hands regularly with soap and water, and also using alcohol-based sanitizers, especially if no water and soap will be available. To maintain at least 2 meters of distance between yourselves and anyone who is coughing or sneezing or has a fever or looks unwell. Persons with a persistent cough or sneezing or fever should stay home, call a doctor, or call a hospital, or call the hotline, especially if they've traveled or been out of the country for the previous 2 weeks, and if they're in a gathering, to maintain a decent social distance. And everybody should make sure that people around you follow good respiratory hygiene, which means cover their mouth and nose with a tissue or handkerchief when coughing or sneezing. If none available, you can cough or sneeze into your sleeve, in your elbow, or above or below. Dispose of the used tissue properly in a dustbin. Again, stay at home, avoid congregating, especially if you feel unwell with symptoms like fever, cough, and difficulty in breathing. The NCDC toll-free call line again is 0800 97 00000 up to 10. There are several lines available, and they are available to speak 24 hours a day. Monday to Sunday, they are ready to give guidance. We urge all persons not to remain on prolonged self-medication and to stay informed of latest developments about COVID-19 through the Federal Ministry of Health, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, the Lagos State Ministry of Health, and other state health department official channels on TV, radio, and social media platforms. I strongly advise citizens against relying only on social media information, as pranksters will tend to abuse this medium for misinformation and disinformation that will cause fear and panic. The Federal Ministry of Health endeavors in these statements to give the public a true and useful information. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control will continue to provide updates as they become available, and will put in place all available measures needed to control the spread of any infectious disease outbreak in Nigeria. With regard to banning flights into Nigeria or any social activities and festivals, I shall provide an update after the deliberations of the interministerial meeting of the Presidential Task Force on Coronavirus, which is scheduled for later today. And as I said, it is headed by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. That is the end of the briefing.